All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the brothers that are doing this work in true sincerity. And we're going to jump right into the lesson. This is Psalms 5 and 3. It says, "For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But her end is bitter as a wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps take hold on hell." So this is speaking, this strange woman that Proverbs is speaking about. It's speaking about America. Because you look at the word strange woman, it goes up to stranger, a stranger, a loathsome, a strange woman, prostitute, harlot, Slakia. So it's symbolic of a harlot, a strange woman, or a foreign philosophy that's contrary to the truth. That's why the book of Proverbs warns the young man against taking heed or being seduced by the strange woman. This is speaking of America, the great whore, Revelation 17:1. Let's go ahead and get that. It's the Revelation 17:1 that says, "And there came with the seven angels, which had seven vials, and those seven vials are judgments. And talks to me, saying, Come hither, and I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters." The great whore that sitteth upon many waters is America. It says, "When the kings of the earth committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth had made drunk with the wine of her fornication." So this is speaking of the philosophies, the culture, the wicked promotion of America. So let's go back to Proverbs. It says, "For the lips of a strange woman has dropped its honeycomb, her mouth is full of oil." It's enticing. All the wickedness, all the devices that America or the great whore has to offer, or American culture has to offer, is enticing. But all these philosophies and all these luxuries, the delicacies, as the scripture calls it, they are wicked in the eyes of the Most High. So we are to not be partakers of the strange woman. As it said in verse 5, "Her feet go down to death, her steps take hold on hell." That's ultimately going to be the punishment of America. Massive death and destruction. This is going to be the grave or the hell of many a Jake in the coming days. Because America, according to the scriptures, will be destroyed by nuclear fire. Let's go ahead and get Jeremiah, the 5th chapter. It's Jeremiah 5:17. It says, "And they shall eat up thine harvest." Salak. Start at verse 14. It says, "Wherefore thus saith the Most High Power of hosts, or the Lord of the armies, because ye speak this word, behold, I will make my words and my fire, and this people wood, and it shall devour them. It says, Lo, I will bring a nation upon you from far, O house of Israel." And that's speaking of the so-called Black Latinos and Native Americans. We are brought here into America for punishment. This is the place of our captivity. This is the place of our sorrows. It says, "O house of Israel, says the Most High, it is a mighty nation, it is an ancient nation, a nation whose language thou knowest not, either understandest what they say. The quiver is an open sepulchre, they are mighty men. Because who was blessed with the sword? Esau. Esau was blessed with a sword that made him mighty upon the earth. And they shall eat up thine harvest and thy bread, which thy sons and daughters should eat. They shall eat up the flocks from thine herd, they shall eat them up the vines, thy fig trees shall impoverish thy fenced cities, wherein thou trustest with the sword." So the so-called Native American, he flourished once in this land. They are of the northern kingdom. They are of the tribe of the Gad. And other what you call the Indian tribes. And they were eaten out of house and home. They were destroyed and pushed out of house and home by the Edomites, by the mighty nation. They were made to live on reservations, which can be likened to an impoverished cities. So nevertheless, in those days, says the Most High, will not make a fool of you. So although they killed a great number of Native Americans, and also it was the goal of America to make a complete genocide of the Native Americans, that did not happen. And it shall come to pass, you say, wherefore the Lord our power do us what are all these things unto us? Wherefore doeth the Lord our power these things unto us? Then shalt thou answer them, like ye have forsaken me, and serve strange gods your land. You shall serve strangers in a land that is not yours, because ultimately our real land is in Israel. Declare this in the house of Jacob, and publish in Judah, saying, how now, O foolish people, without understanding, have ears and see not, which have ears and hear not. Fear ye not me, said the Lord, for will ye not tremble at my presence, which hath placed the sand for the bounds of the sea by a perfect decree that cannot pass, though the waves were taught to himself, yet can they not prevail, though they roar, yet they cannot pass over it. But this people has revolting and rebellious heart, they revolted and gone. And part of that revolting rebellion was being seduced by the strange woman that we read about in Proverbs 15:3 and Revelation 17:1 that we have just mentioned. So in the eyes of the Most High, America is viewed as a harlot, as a seducer, as a wicked woman, full of adultery and full of wickedness, full of sorceries, which are the philosophies, these enticing philosophies, because everything under the sun is promoted, every wickedness under the sun, let's put it that way, is promoted right here in America. It's promoted, it's developed, it's praised, it's worshipped right here in America. So the scriptures metaphorically is warning us of America. It's warning the Israelite man, the man of the Lord, against America and against falling to the traps of America. In Sirach 93, it says, meet not with a harlot lest thou fall into a snare. So there is a trap, there's a snare set up for this place. And if you engage with this woman, this strange woman, this prostitute, this harlot of America, you will fall into those traps as you read about in Proverbs the 5th chapter. And we'll just keep on reading. It says, you not much the company of a woman that is a singular that should be taken with her attempts. Now we're here in America, and we gotta exist, and we gotta function. We have to be part of this system for the most part until they decide to make that chip mandatory. But you got to be careful in your involvement with this place. It says, gaze not on the maid that thou fall not by those things that are precious in her. So gaze not on the maid that thou fall not those things that are precious in her, because these things can be enticing. These things can be appealing to the flesh. Always remember that we are spirit and we are flesh. And if you live by the flesh, you're gonna please the flesh. You're gonna submit to the flesh. If you gaze too much upon the maid, America, if you spend too much time wondering about this place or trying to attain the pleasures of this place, that could lead to your destruction, your falling. Give not thy soul unto harlots, that thou lose thine inheritance. Our inheritance is righteousness. Our inheritance is ultimate rulership in the kingdom. And then that could be lost if you fall into the seduction of the great whore. So these are just all warnings. Lose not your inheritance. These are, and our inheritance is ultimately the kingdom. Now all Israel will be in the kingdom for the the final say so. But this is a warning for the elect, man. Of course, the elect are predestined not to succumb to the seduction of the great whore, because the scripture says in Revelation 14:1. Let's go ahead and get that they that they knew not woman. Where is it at? Revelation 14:4, and just speaking of the 144,000, as it says right there in the heading of the chapter. It said, these are they which are not defiled with woman. Going back to Proverbs 5:3. For they are virgins. That means they didn't defile themselves in the philosophies of this place. These are they which follow the Lamb wheresoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruit to Yahweh and to the Lamb. In their mouths was found no God, for they was without fault before the throne of the Most High. And that's ultimately Yahweh Shai died first and foremost for the elect. He was sacrificed on the cross first and foremost on the elect. So the strange woman is America. That's found throughout all the scriptures. And we are to be very careful how we move and shake among this place. That's why Yahweh Shai said, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. There's another scripture that comes to mind. Let me see if I can find it. 1 Corinthians 7:31 says, they that use this world, it's not abusing it. So you have to use this world. You have to use this place. We're here. We have to function. We have to provide ways and means for ourselves. It said, for the fashion of the world passes away, and that was read in we just read that in the scriptures as well. Proverbs the 5th chapter, where ultimately the destiny of America is hell and death. It said, but what have you without careful? He that is unmarried cares for things that belong to the Lord, how he may please the Lord. He that is married cares for things that are the world, that he may please his wife. But ultimately, the elect are married to the Lord. These are the virgins in Revelation 14:4, that were not defiled with women. There's a lot of scriptures that speak metaphorically and parabolically. And the great whore and the strange woman, the harlot, Babylon. There's a lot of places where those speak about America. So America is in the scriptures. America and the warning not to be seduced by this place is in the scriptures. And that's only given to a few, to the remnants a lot. But with that being said, just a real quick lesson. Most I will and hope is edifying. That would give our honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Call halal Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Brothers, keep on pushing. Shalom.